Today I'm going to read from the first chapter of my novel, What's French Frops, which comes out in less than a week, like 4 days now. So I thought it would be fun to give some things away, and one of those things is me reading, potentially embarrassing myself, on video. So I'm going to read a chunk from chapter 1 and hope you enjoy it. Jean Carr was hungry. She wanted the wrong meal thanks to jet lag, and she wanted the wrong man thanks to blissful ignorance. After 11 at night, she didn't much like her chances of finding anything resembling dinner, but maybe things were different in London. Hopeful, she followed Kate through the reverberating mass of people out to the back of the pub. Trailing after other people, hoping what she needed would fall in her lap. That was basically Jean's MO. While her friends left high school with direction, vision, a dream capital D, Jean had meandered through university, choosing courses based on their reading lists, and hoping a career would jump out at her from behind a lectern. Kate was shouting something indecipherable in the soup of sound and waving toward her colleagues from the theatre. She shoved her on-stage lover, and he moved down the bench seat to make room for them. "Keep an eye for a table we can drag over," she said. That seemed unlikely, but so long as there was food, and soon Jean would happily sit in Kate's lap if necessary. Oh, it was good to have a friendly face among the masses of strangers. One of the crew guys slid menus down the table. "Kate said you just arrived from New Zealand." "Yeah, my stomach wants brunch." Jean tried to do the time zone math in her head, but then abandoned the effort. Food. Priorities. A jug of beer was plonked down on the table, and a clattering stack of glasses followed. This was going to go straight to her head, but when in London, right? Well, until her job started as a live-in nanny. She'd be generally sober, until her job started. As a live-in nanny, she'd be generally sober and in bed before 10. The thought of her job made her nervous. She hadn't met her new boss, or the children. She didn't really know what she was in for. Flying around the globe on little more than a whim suddenly seemed nuts. Kate flung her arm out, pointing, "Table!" Jean slid off the end of the bench seat to grab it and found herself facing off with a rival table grabber. Rolled up shirt sleeves revealed toned forearms and strong-looking hands gripping the tabletop. "Oh, pardon me," he said, and straightened. He had the top button of his shirt open, his tie tugged loose. His jaw looked to be carved from marble, and his eyes were black as Guinness. The music finally rose above the hubbub of conversation, and Kate was singing along, top of her lungs. Jean turned to see her pointing both finger guns at her. "You!" Jean shook her head, laughing, but she was not about to join in. Jean, "Your sex is on fire." Kate jumped up out of her seat and helped haul the table over. The guy looked vaguely trapped. "Join us?" Jean said, pushing 2 chairs into place, one for herself and one for this gorgeous man in his deliciously rumpled suit. Kate was singing the verse now, their version of it, rewritten at age 14 or so. "You gotta be careful." Kate gave Jean a significant look. "Maybe see a doctor." If there was a girl code, it definitely said that joining an old friend in impromptu karaoke, reliving a shared adolescence, was more important than making a good impression on even the most mesmerizing of men. Jean gave in, and avoiding eye contact with the sexy stranger, sang her heart out. "Get yourself tested." Beat. "Not infected." They had an audience now. "It could be herpes or something more serious. Could be a UTI, just an ooty." And then, all together, every actor at the table joined in. "You!" Someone started clapping, and Kate took Jean's hand, plunging them both into a theatrical bow. "We're here all week." The stranger was laughing now, but he looked over his shoulder. Was he here with someone? Apparently not, because he sat down in the chair Jean had pushed across. That song must have come out just as our sex ed classes got to the nitty-gritty. Jean offered an almost explanation. "Oh, I've missed you." Kate leaned over and pulled Jean into a hug. She lifted her beer glass. "Two old friends." Jean clinked her glass to 5 or 6 others, not including the suited stranger, because he didn't have a glass. "I'm Jean." He said a name, but it got lost in the noise. "Mac?" "Oh, he's Scottish." Kate gave Jean a nudge. "Mac, have a drink." "Mac Clark." was undecided. His mates had been egging him on for some time, hassling him for not putting himself out there. At long last, he'd snapped. "You want me to chat up a total stranger? Just spin me around and point me at a warm body and—" "Yes," a chorus had answered. "Well, get us a table first. Front row seats so we can watch you make your move." And then, not 5 minutes later, he'd seen a table empty, gone to save it, and got himself chatted up, sort of. His mates were at the bar still watching. If he played this right, perhaps they'd get off his case. Jean didn't seem like his usual cup of tea, dishevelled and loud and crude, quite frankly. But he wasn't planning on marrying her, just flirting. She brushed her unruly hair off her shoulder and caught a whiff of her scent. He couldn't put his finger on what it was, and leaned in without really meaning to. "You all right?" she said. "I can't place your accent." "New Zealand, just arrived yesterday." The music was loud, and with all the people talking over the top of it, even 3-word sentences were liable to get lost. She had a long silver necklace, disappearing into the deep V-neck of her t-shirt. She caught him looking and sat up straighter. Was that code for eyes up, mate? Or was she nervous? Good nervous. Bad nervous. It had been far too long since he'd done this. He twisted his glass in his hand. "How do you know so many people already?" "Oh, I only know Kate. We went to school together. She's letting me stay with her for a few days." "Are you travelling?" he asked. Kate clapped and leapt up, almost knocking over what little remained of the jug of beer. "I love the song. Dance with me, Jean. Everything's taking me back tonight." Jean stood and squeezed past, brushing her thighs against his arm in the crush. Curvy thighs and tight black jeans and hips that twisted to the beat, and for a while he'd forgotten about all his friends at the bar. They were still watching. One of them held out his hands, open in a shrug, as if to say, "Are you even trying?" Matt could get up and join them, sure. It wasn't exactly his style, but perhaps it was time to consider a change in style. Sleek, put-together women with serious careers and stable lives. It hadn't exactly worked out brilliantly for him so far. Chaotic, uninhibited women with no fixed abode were uncharted territory. He downed the last of his beer and stood up. Ignoring his mates cheering, he joined Jean and Kate. Why did he have to be so self-conscious, even after 2.5 beers? Jean and Kate looked so wild and free, but he felt awkward, out of kilter, hyper-aware. Kate gestured that she needed a drink, leaving him on his own with Jean. Well, on their own, surrounded by 15 or so other people. She took his hand and pulled him in, still winding her hips side to side, hypnotic. He met her gaze, and she gave a broad grin. She looked like she was having fun. That was all this was. Fun. Not his specialty, that's what his ex-wife would say, but it was past time he stopped caring what she would say. He found the rhythm, mirroring Jean. Her hip bumped against his, and he lost the beat for a moment, but caught it again. They were close now, brushing arms, and if he let his eyes drop, he'd see just how long that necklace was. Resisting that temptation, his gaze fell to the curve of her neck, the wavy mass of hair, the silver zigzags hanging from her earlobes like lightning strikes, or crossed-out mistakes. Was this a mistake? Not yet, it wasn't. In the moving crowd, she was suddenly closer, her breasts pressed to his chest for a moment, then not. Her hand was on his arm. He let his fingers curl around her waist, soft and firm at once. Warm fabric shifting against her skin, and just like that, he was imagining taking her clothes off. One of the bar staff wended past them with plates of food, and Jean broke away from him. Probably good timing, though. He hated to admit it. He was going too fast. "Sorry," she said. "My body clock is all out of whack. I'm starving." "I'll get around, eh?" He went to the bar to order a couple of jugs. "Looks like it's going well." His mates surrounded him while he waited for the barman to take his money. "She's hot." Matt nodded, all but flinging his credit card at the guy behind the till. "You look like you were having fun." "You do remember what goes where, I presume?" Someone rewarded that comment with a shove, just as Matt got his jug of beer. "Thanks," he said, and ducked around the shover and shovey. Back at the table, Jean was cutting up a steak with gusto. He filled the empties and topped up the others. "So, Mac, which part of Scotland are you from?" the guy beside Kate asked. "I'm not. I'm definitely a London accent," a guy in the black shirt said. Matt nodded. "Shakespeare fan?" "Sure. You should come to our play." "Okay," Matt said. Why not? Comedy or tragedy? Comedy. Ah. You prefer the tragedies? Jean said. Definitely. Everybody dies. Yeah, but first there's an entire story. She laughed, a brilliant musical laugh, and waved her fork in acknowledgement, not agreement. So they're all actors, what about you? He said. Audience, mainly. Oh, you mean career-wise? Jean dipped a chip in some ketchup, then licked it off, tongue curling soft and pink. He groaned, but thankfully for the loud bar, she wouldn't likely hear it. Then she bit into the chip. He was as bad as when they'd been dancing, and she wasn't even halfway through her chips. I don't know what I want to do. Matt knew exactly what he wanted to do. Taste the salt and ketchup on her lips and pull her onto his lap. I've never really had a clear goal, a dream career. Kate stole a chip. I thought you wanted to do real estate. Nah, that was Phil's thing. I was just, young and stupid. In love? Probably not. Who knows? What's love? Jean and Kate stared at each other, silent a moment, then burst into song. Got to do with it. What's love? Kate finished the line, but Jean cracked up laughing. Shaking her head, she met Matt's gaze. He felt bold then. If she hadn't had half of a meal in front of her, he might have asked her to leave with him right then. The rest of Chapter 1, and maybe even a little sneak of Chapter 2, will be in another instalment in a couple of days. So, you can pre-order the book now. It's on Amazon, and it will go up everywhere else, including a paperback, on Valentine's Day. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to reading more, and I'll see you soon. Bye!